Okay, so this is a introduction to stats, or some statistical ideas, and this is kind of like a quiz we're going to have. I gave you some data, and normally what I did in class, I did these on the overhead, and for one of your homework problems, this was kind of like what we did on the homework, and I drew the table. I draw these lines. I like my lines to be straight, so I like to use a ruler, etc. And I came up with this table because we wanted to find the median, the mode, the range, the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation, and actually the z-scores also. So we came up with this table idea, which is an easy way to organize our data. So that's kind of an important concept. But rather than keep drawing these lines and stuff, which take me a while, I just used my word processing formula. I made up a little table like this. So it's a little bit easier to do, and probably for your quiz, because I did tell you you'd have a quiz on this, your quiz might look something like this. So it could be kind of a blank, and you have to fill in everything, including these column headings here. So you know basically what you're doing. Well, if you've been doing the homework and you remember the notes we went over, because we did have a couple of days of notes that I gave you, those handouts, then you shouldn't have any trouble filling this whole thing out. And then all these things will be worth points. So I think I added them all up, all the spaces. It's about 40 points. So that's exactly what you're going to have to do. So make sure you take a look at that. So let's kind of go through an example. And here's the data set. So we put the data set up here, and I just gave you 6 elements here. We could have anywhere from 6 to 8. 6, 7, or 8 probably will be what we're going to be using for a quiz. And for homework, my homework problems have been between 6 and 8 elements. So here's your data. And these could be test scores, a 26, a 28, a 33, a 35, a 35, and a 41. So this is our set of data. And then we know that the median is actually the middle score. Well, if we have an even number of scores, then we're going to have 2 around the middle, but the middle is going to be right in here. So what we do is we add those up and divide by 2. We just take the average of the middle 2 scores if we have an even number. If we have an odd number, you just take the middle number. But if we have an even number, just add up these 2 and divide by 2. And if you do that, you actually get 34. You can see that the median, or the number right in the middle, is 34. Sometimes they're not that easy to figure out, so you just add these 2 middle numbers up, divide by 2. The mode, so the median is the number that's right in the middle. In other words, half of our data is above, half of our data is below. The mode is the number that appears the most. You may not have a mode because there may be just all the data may just appear once. But in this case, we've got 2 items that are, or 1 item that appears twice. That's 35. So 35 is the mode. Okay, the range is just the top highest value minus the lowest value. That's the range. And we usually write our data in ascending power, so it's easy. So we would just take 41 minus 26. So 15 is our range. That's pretty easy. Now the mean is the average. And that's usually designated by the letter M. Because we've got a lot of M's here, but the M is usually reserved for mean, because that's one of the most important ones. So if we want to find the mean, we just add up all these. So I gave you room to do this. So we have 26 plus 28 plus 33 plus 35 plus 35 plus 41, and we divide that by the number of items in our data, or a number of, I guess, test scores in this case, and that's 6, so we divide that by 6. Okay, so we need to get our calculator out, so I've got one of the calculators that we have, the my scientific calculators that are $1.99 at the 99-cent store. Okay, and let's just add these up. So my data is going to be, so I've got to have 6 entries. And this is nice because you can kind of keep track. So we got 26 plus 28 plus 33 plus 35 plus, so now it moves over, so make sure you check these, another 35 plus 41. So before it goes off the screen, make sure you double check and make sure you entered that in there. And then to press enter to add them all up, and we get 198. So we have 198 up on the top. And we're going to divide that by 6 to get our mean. Well, you already got the 198 in your calculator, so you can just press divided by 6. enter, and that's going to give you your mean, which is 33. So you can see your mean is 33. So we just put that over here. Okay. So my mean is 33. Now remember, the variance is how our data is kind of dispersed away from the mean. Okay, the greater the variance, the more all the data is far from the mean. Well, our mean is 33, so it's not too bad. Some of these are pretty close. This is right on. These are only a couple away from 33. Then these are extreme values away from 33, so those are going to cause the variance or the standard deviation. That's a measurement of how our data is dispersed to kind of be a little bit larger number. Okay, the smaller the standard deviation, which is the square root of the variance, and we went over that in class, so you know that. Okay. Then the smaller the standard deviation, the closer our data is grouped around the mean or the average. So we need to find the variance, the standard deviation, and actually the z-scores. So this was our formula for the variance, and the standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. So you'll be filling these in. So in order to find the variance, this is the formula. It's the square of the difference of each of our entries minus the mean. And we add up all the sums of those squares and divide by the number of elements we have, or entries we have, which is 6 in this case. So that's what we have to do. So first of all, we got to figure out all these things. So this table makes it real easy. So my mean is going to be 33. And you might have to use a calculator, you might not have to. So what's 26 minus 33? Well, that's going to be negative 7. 28 minus 33 is negative 5. 33 minus 33, well, that's a nice one, that's 0. 35 minus 33 is 2. And I have another 35, so I got another 2. And 41 minus 33 is 8. You could use a calculator on this, you may not have to. Now, in our variance formula, we have this difference squared, so we just square these over here in this column. So that's going to be 49. Remember, a negative squared is a positive, so all my numbers here will be positive. 49, 25, 0 squared is 0, 2 squared is 4, 2 squared is 4, and 8 squared is 64. So those are all the squares. Now in the formula over here for the variance, and I kind of gave you room to write it, it's going to be just the sum of these differences divided by 6. So 6 is going to go on the bottom, and I'll just add up these numbers on the top. So I've got a 49, 25, 0, 4, 4, and 64. So that's going to be the formula for the variance, which is the square of the standard deviation. But I want you to find both. So that's going to be equal to, so let's add all these numbers up. So we have, move this over so we don't have any glare here, 49 plus 25 plus and 0, and then we got 4 and 4 is 8, so I could just add 8, or I could just say 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 plus 64. And I add all those up and I get, oops, I made an error, gotta watch out. Clear that again, so we'll just say it again. So that's why you want to check your screen, make sure you don't make a mistake like that. 49 plus 25 plus 0, don't have to add that, and 4 plus 64. So look at your screen, make sure everything's okay there, and then press. And we get 146. And it's good to write that down. So we have 146 divided by 6, and that's going to equal, so I'll just press, now I've got it in there, so I just press divided by 6. Right over here, divided by 6, so it says answer divided by 6, and that equals 24.33. And we want you to round off to tenths on all this calculation, so we'll just say that's approximately, well, still, that's even approximation, but 24.3. So that's my variance. So I'll put that up here for variance. Got myself another point. And then the standard deviation, this is just equal to the square root of the variance. So that's going to be the square root of 24.3. Oh, sorry, I can see that. Okay, so my standard deviation is the square root of the variance, which is the square root of 24.3, so I'll put that on my calculator. So we've got square roots, so on this calculator, how do you do square roots? Here it is right over there. Square root of 24.3, 24.3, parentheses, enter. Oops, error, what did I do wrong here? Let me clear this again. Oh, I think you have to put the square root in first. 24.3 and square root, enter. Nope. See, I'm not used to using this calculator. Let's try this again. Square root 24.3. Do I need a parentheses? Nope. There we go. Okay, 4.9. So that's my problem. Not used to this calculator, so I must have done something wrong. So 4.9, and that's my standard deviation. Okay. So 4.9. Okay, that makes sense. And now we have to figure out the z-scores. So each of these scores, we just divide each of these scores. So the z-score is the difference between my data entry and the mean divided by the standard deviation. So I'm going to take -7 and divide it by 4.9. So we can just do that with our calculator. And this is going to be a negative over a positive. So these would be negative, the other sides would be positive. And this would be, so I could just go over here, clear this, and say just 7 divided by 4.9. 7 divided by 4.9. And we get about 1.4. We round off to tenths. So -1.4. The next one will be -5 or 5 because it's a negative. So we just 5 divided by 4.9. And we get 1.02. So that's about 1.0 if we round off to the nearest tenth. And then 0 divided by 4.9 is just 0. That's easy. So this was -5 divided by 4.9. This is 0 divided by 4.9. And over here we've got 2 divided by 4.9. We've got that twice, so that's going to save us some time. So 2 divided by 4.9. And we get 0.40, so 0.4. And this is also 0.4. That's 2 divided by 4.9. And the last one would be 8 divided by 4.9. That's going to be the biggest one. So 8 divided by 4.9. And that was 1.63 or about 1.6. And those are your z-scores. This is just extra stuff. You don't really need to do that. And there you go. So those are your z-scores. So if we added this all up, you might get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 to show that. Maybe 8, 9 to show all that. And then you'd have to put these headings here. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, Okay, maybe 38, or maybe 40 points, something like that, and we'll figure out exactly how the rubric goes. But you have to fill all that stuff out. And again, like I said on your quiz, you probably won't have these headings, so you have to make sure that you remember to put these in. So that would be part of your points, okay? So you have to know all that stuff. So your quiz would look pretty much like this, and then you fill in everything. Make sure you have your calculator and practice with these, and you should have no trouble. Okay? Hope that makes sense.